So we begin by taking our look at the calendar. Today is Thursday, March 13. Thank you guys for braving the storm to get out here this morning. So what we're going to do first is finish section 2.6. That was the stuff with inequalities that we ended with last class. And then we're going to do all of 2.7. So that's coming later on today. Still have a little bit of homework to check from people, and then we've got some time away because spring break is coming up this coming week. So today is our last class until Tuesday, March the 25th. And I know you guys are going to be crying yourself to sleep every night between now and then. Right here? Yeah. Okay. So I just want to point out that there is homework due on the Tuesday when we come back. It's a normal length assignment. It's not like a week and a half's worth of homework, but 2.6 and 2.7 are both due on the day we come back. Questions? It's the 25th. 3:25. Okay, so page 158 is where you guys left off. I think a bunch of you finished. At least these first four. Just one quick reminder. Solving inequalities is exactly the same as solving equations, with what one important difference? Did everybody hear what Julia said? Julia, one more time. Every time you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the direction of that inequality. So pick up wherever you left off on page 158. I'll put the flags out so you can raise the flag if you get stuck, and then we'll come back together in a little while. But see how far you can get. Okay, so jumping ahead to page 163. One more quick look at the calendar. It's difficult to say that exam 2 is coming soon, but it kind of is if you ignore spring break. It's not until April 3rd, but once we come back from spring break, it's a week later, so it's coming. All right, so exam 2 is there, and as usual, you have a whole ton of resources available to you, including the yellow 2, which I handed out a few weeks ago. All right, so lots of practice problems. It's not too early to start studying for exam 2, and I want to say that exam 2 is perhaps the most important assessment of the whole year, because not only does it replace quiz 2 if you do better on exam 2 than you did on quiz 2, but exam 2 is the only exam that actually replaces another exam. Exam 2 will replace exam 1 if you do better on exam 2. So what's that? Yes. If you do better on exam 2 than exam 1, then the exam 1 grade disappears and becomes exam 2. So it can replace the first exam and or the second quiz. So it's worth more than any other one because of the replaceability piece. Meg. Yeah, just the individual scores. If you do better than you did on quiz 2, then quiz 2 goes away. It would replace both. So it's really important. So make sure you spend the time, invest the time to try to be prepared for that exam. Okay, so again, we're here on page 163, new lesson, which means there's a new objective. We start with Leslie. A little bit above the graph. Thank you. Jen? Okay, so here are two definitions of words that you may or may not have heard before. X-intercept is the point where the line crosses the x-axis. So the x-intercept is where we hit the x-axis, and it is right here in this picture. X-intercept is where we hit the x-axis. All right, so the x-axis, x-intercept is there in yellow, and then the y-intercept is on the y-axis, and it's this point right here in green, okay? So these things are named appropriately. X-intercept hits the x-axis. Good? Y-intercept hits the y-axis. So that part is easy enough to associate, but here's the difficult part. Would you guys agree that if I asked you to point, like, if I asked you to plot the point 4, 0, if you start at the origin, which way do we go to plot the point? Can you point, don't say out loud, but just point, left, right, up, or down. Which way are we supposed to go to plot the point 4, 0, starting at the origin? Where do we go? Just point. Don't say it out loud, point. All right, so I see some people pointing up, and I see a few more people pointing to the right. Which one is it? Yeah, 4, 0. The first number we know is the x, and so going to x equals 4 means go to the right, and the 0 says don't go up or down at all, yeah? So then the point 4, 0 maybe is like over here. And where's the point 5, 0? Left, right, up, or down? It's to the right. It's maybe here. And how about the point -2, 0? Left, right, up, or down? It's to the left, so maybe it's out here. What is consistent for all those coordinates there? The y is 0, yes? The y is equal to 0 for all of those. And so this is a little bit awkward because we are describing the x-intercept, but what happens to be true there? What's true at all of those points? Yeah, they're on the x-axis. Well, but what did we decide was consistent about those coordinates? Is the y is 0. So I'll say it again. At the x-intercept, the y is 0. And that's awkward and can tend to be confusing. Because if you say x-intercept, you might think, oh, it's the x, it should be 0. X-intercept, x is 0, but it's not. It's reversed. And the same kind of reversal happens over here on the y-axis. For example, this point right here could be like 0, 2, maybe. And how about a point down here? Somebody make one up for us. What did you say, -5? Okay. And what's consistent? What's true about both purple coordinates? 0 where? They are on the y-axis, but which coordinate? It's the x that's 0, right? So at the y-intercept, the x is 0. That's what it says there. So it's kind of confusing. The x-intercept hits the x-axis, but at the x-intercept, the y is 0. So we've got to be really clear which one we're making equal to 0. Let's move on to the next page, but here's the key idea here. To find an intercept, set the other variable equal to 0. Let's give that a shot. So we begin with this equation, y minus 4x equals 2. And we're going to use algebra to find the x-intercept. If I want to find the x-intercept, we need to set the other variable equal to 0. So what letter is equal to 0 in this one? Is the y. So we set y equal to 0. To find the x-intercept, set y equal to 0. Okay, that's easy enough. I'm going to copy that equation, but 0 instead of the y, so it becomes 0 minus 4x equals 2. Everything copied except for the y, which became 0. Go ahead and take a moment to solve that equation. Solve for x. What do we get? Negative how much? Negative 1/2. 2 over -4, but then reduce it. And generally, we put that negative in the front of the fraction, wherever it is. We just move it to the front. So the x-intercept is x equals -1/2. I'm going to write an or here, and I'm going to include points, and this is probably what I'm going to ask you for on a test or a quiz. If I ask for an x-intercept, I probably want both coordinates. It's a point, right? Every point has 2 coordinates. -1/2 is just one of them. So -1/2 is definitely the x, because that's what it says. But how much is the y? It's 0. Because that's the very first thing we did, right? We set the y equal to 0. So if I ask for the x-intercept, I'm almost certainly thinking about wanting both coordinates. So you find the x by doing algebra, but you write down both coordinates. One of them is definitely 0. Let's try part B. Show how to use algebra to find the y-intercept. If I want the y-intercept, what do I let equal 0? X, the other one. It's just automatic after you do it enough times. Anytime you're finding the y-intercept, you let x equal 0. That's how you start the problem. So we go back to the original equation, copy it, except instead of x, we put 0. So we go y minus 4 times what? 0 equals 2. Yeah, and so that's y minus nothing is 2, which means that y is 2. So more likely I'm interested in both coordinates. 0, 2 is it. The first thing we did was make x 0. So we'll highlight the y-intercept is that thing right there. Okay, let's come down here to C. It says graph these intercepts on the grid and draw the line that passes through them. So let's plot both points. So the first one was what, negative 1/2 comma 0. Which way is that? Left, right, up, or down? It's left. So that right there is the first intercept, negative 1/2 comma 0. And then the other intercept was at 0, 2 from the origin, left, right, up, or down? Up. So that's 0, 2. And then hopefully you can use a straight edge and your line will look better than mine. I connect the dots. We've got our line. Questions on that process? Okay, and down here, part D. What is the equation of the line we just drew? This question has a quick answer. Before we write the quick answer, some of you have quite a bit of experience with finding equations of lines. I'm going to write an equation that we are not going to use this semester, but raise your hand if you have used that equation at some point in your life. So it's most of us. Y equals mx plus b. What does m stand for? Starts with an S. Slope is right. Just remember slope. Not going to remember it from this class. So you're not going to see it in this class, but maybe from some other class. Slope was a measure of how steep a line is. Anybody remember what the b stands for? It's okay if we don't. Like I said, we're not going to use it at all this semester.
We don't know.
But the b is the...
I'll just tell them for everyone. I don't think anybody actually don't remember if I've ever seen it.
You may never have seen it. I don't know. The b stands for the y-intercept. And so some of you might have some experience trying to use that equation to find the equation of a line. But we're not doing any of that. So I'm just going to cross it off and say the answer to this question is on this page up above somewhere. What's the equation of that line? Y minus 4x equals 2. That's the line that is graphed, right? That's what we started with. Okay, classwork is here. So you're going to go through problem 1, and you're going to work through problem 2. And at the end of problem 2, we're going to come back together for this activity. But if you get there before I say stop, then just keep on going, all right? So see how far you can get, but we will come back together at some point. So all of us are right now going to take a break, and we're going to look at part B to this leaking tank problem. And I first want to think about these hints that are given here for writing down a sentence to explain what an intercept means. So the first thing that I recommend doing is writing down the value of both variables. It's not just a single number, even though your answer to part A might have started with t equals 25. Even though it just says t equals 25, that's one of two numbers that are associated with that t-intercept. So the first thing I'm doing here is letting g equal 0, right? Isn't that what you did in part A?
Yeah.
And then you did some work, and eventually you got t equals 25. And to really explain what's going on here, we're going to stick some units onto these numbers. So what are the units for g? Gallons. And what are the units for t? What are the units? Minutes. So 0 gallons and 25 minutes. We just got to stare. I think it actually says that. Where is it? Stare at it. You just stare at those two numbers with the units associated, and then you try to write down some sentence that captures what's going on here, but you want to write it, it's kind of weird, you want to write it in a non-mathematical way. And it's strange for me to ask you that, but I want you to explain this in a way that somebody not in a math class would understand. And so let's look at our 3 sentences that are over here on the board. First one, 25 minutes since the tank started leaking. Second one, basically the same. It's been 25 minutes since the tank started leaking. Third one, no gallons are left in the tank 25 minutes after the tank started leaking. Which of these 3 captures both pieces of information we've written on the board? Is it? They're all B. The third B, right? That last one, didn't that last one capture both? So the first 2, they've got half of it, right? 25 minutes, something is happening, and you've got 25 minutes here in both pieces, but we didn't capture the G part, the fact that there's 0 gallons in the tank. And I also want to point out that this last group here, they didn't say 0 gallons in the tank. What did they say? They said no gallons. It's kind of awkward to say there are 0 gallons left. So you'd say no gallons. What's another word you might say instead of no gallons? Empty, right? There are a lot of ways you can say it without putting the 0 in the sentence. So generally what you want to do is you don't want to put the 0, you want to put some other regular English word that captures what's happening. And I want to say something else. They also got this key phrase here, after, definitely that's important, the tank started leaking. You can't just say 25 minutes later. You got to tell me later than what, right? 25 minutes after something happened. All of this stuff is with reference to a particular event. In this example, when the tank started leaking, that's when we start the clock at t equals 0. And anything that happens positive values of t, it's time after star, the tank started leaking, happened. Right? So wherever you are, you got to get one of these words in here. It's either after something happened, before something happened, that's okay, or when something happened. That's at a particular moment in time. Given our little discussion here, can you guys re-examine your sentence D and edit it if you feel appropriate? I want each group to come up with a new sentence for D that you all feel captures all the information for the G intercept.